All right, let's dive into something wild. What if I told you that our deepest feelings, joy, sadness, the whole shebang, might actually follow the basic laws of physics? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But stick with me on this. I mean, think about it. You've probably been there, right? That moment when you're so overwhelmed with emotion that you don't know if you're gonna laugh or you're gonna cry. It feels like you're walking this tightrope between two totally opposite reactions. So, what's going on there? Are they completely different things? Or could they be just different notes of the same core emotion?
Okay, so let's dig into that paradox. How can two things that feel so different also feel so strangely similar when the intensity is cranked all the way up? The source material we're looking at today gives us a really powerful and kind of personal way to think about this.
Now, the source uses let's say, a very direct example to get the point across. Both of these are obviously moments of extreme emotional release, right? A total overflow of feeling. But they come out in completely opposite ways. And when the source asks if they actually feel the same, the answer is a hard no. They're not the same sensation at all. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Laughter is described as this super intense high peak, and then you kind of crash. But crying, that's a whole different kind of intensity. It's not just a louder or softer version of the same feeling. They are totally different notes. So that begs the question, if they're different notes, what decides which one our body plays in that moment? Well, this is where we get to the heart of the whole idea. The source material introduces this absolutely brilliant analogy that connects these emotional notes to something really physical, something you can actually picture. And here it is. It's all about a vibrating string. The idea is that our emotions act just like a guitar string, and the sound it makes, the note it plays, is all about how much tension is on it. A loose string vibrates one way, and a tight string vibrates in a completely different way. Okay, so let's really break that down. If our feelings are the string, then this emotional tension is what tunes it. It's the force being applied that decides which note, which emotion we're going to express. This lays it out perfectly. Low tension, that's a loose string. It makes a big, wide, slow vibration, a low note, and that's laughter. But high tension, that's a tight string. It creates a much faster, smaller vibration, a higher note, and that's crying. One of the speakers in the source even says it flat out. I feel like I'm more tense with crying. It just clicks, right? More tension, higher frequency. So let's be super clear about what we mean by emotional tension. We're not talking about just being stressed out or anxious. In this model, it's more like a physics term. It's the internal pressure that's being applied to your emotional state, the thing that's tuning its frequency. It's like the invisible hand on the tuning peg of that string. And this is a really important point. More tension isn't bad, and less tension isn't good. It's just physics. A higher, tighter frequency is just a different result. So in this model, crying isn't worse than laughter. It's just a higher frequency emotion. That's it. Okay, that's the theory. It's a cool idea, but does it actually show up in real life? Well, yeah. The sources give us some amazing, super practical examples of how people are already managing this emotional tension, maybe without even realizing it. We're going to look at two different scenarios. First, how you can lower tension to get things done at work. And second, how you manage really, really high tension when the stakes are deeply personal. So the first case study is from a manager at work. And they figured out that something as simple as a small gift, a little gesture of goodwill, can immediately lower the emotional tension on their team. It's like it just loosens that string, and suddenly, people are way more open and easier to work with. And you see the result right away. The quote here is perfect. The manager gave them a pair of socks, and suddenly when he asked them to do something, the response was just, oh, okay, cool. See? That request doesn't feel like a high-tension demand anymore. It's a simple act that totally changed the emotional frequency of the entire room. All right, now let's crank up the tension a lot. The next example is a much more intense one, a hypothetical discussion about navigating a polyamorous relationship. You can just imagine how much emotional tension is packed into that scenario, right? In a situation like this, managing that frequency isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely crucial if you want to avoid the whole thing blowing up. And just look at how tactical the approach is here. Every single one of these steps is designed to lower the tension before the conversation even starts. You make sure there's food so nobody's hangry. You give people enough time to process things. A day and a half, they say.
You figure out the physical space ahead of time, who's sleeping where, and you set super clear, even blunt boundaries. It's all about tuning those emotional strings proactively so they don't get plugged when they're wound way too tight.
So what does all this mean for you? Why does it matter? Because thinking about your emotions this way, like frequencies we can actually tune, isn't just a neat little thought experiment. It's empowering. It means you have agency. It suggests that we can actually learn to manage our own inner state and consciously affect the emotional vibes in our relationships and our lives.
And that brings us to one last, really big question to leave you with. If our emotional tension is what tunes the frequency of our feelings, who's the musician? Who or what is actually playing the instrument? Is it you? Is it the people around you? Or is it something else entirely? Something to chew on. Thanks for watching.